We've come to a point in this painting where we have to really kind of make sense of what's going on here. Yeah, I agree completely. What is going on here? As we've admitted before, we kind of stumbled into this whole painting. It was the best idea that we could come up with. Kind of thought, something about a cat and a dog and some fool holding on to a tiger's tail. And if you recall the very first painting, we weren't into it. No, we weren't. We just had to kind of start a painting and wing it. Yes, we did, and we've winged it. And we are to a point now where we have to really ask ourselves, what exactly do we have here? Well, what do we have here? Okay, what we have here is we have three elements that I've thought a lot and hard about. And this is what I've discovered upon my thinkings. We have a predator, a very extremely powerful apex predator. We have the innocent, and we have a fool. Those are our three elements. This man is an absolute fool. That is an absolute predator. And this is the epitome of naivety. I agree completely. There are three powerful elements there. And the predator is in the middle. Okay, now I realize that we really have three stories going on here. We have the story of naivety, which is innocence. To be naive, you have to basically be a very good person yourself and believe that everything else in the world is just as good as you. That, in my opinion, is the definition of naivety. So here is a puppy, of all things. Very sweet and innocent, and has no concept that anything in the world could be anything but how it is. Now, we're going to ignore the fact right now that that puppy is not painted yet. I believe I can paint that thing out in about 3 to 5 hours, and then we will move on to what we're about to talk about. Okay. Obviously, what we're going to talk about is the ground. We are going to talk about the ground, but let's get back to the theme of the whole thing. How we've winged it from this point forward, but now the realization has come to me that we can make something extraordinary out of this painting, I believe. So we've already established that we have a naive dog. Now we have an extremely powerful predator. Just look at the paws on that thing. Look at the teeth. Look at the size. Look at the musculature. This is a predator of predators. This thing is in command of the entire world. This is coming to have some type of contact with the naive. Now over here, we have the fool. This ridiculous creature with his silly bun hairdo, socks, his neato shoes, and he is so foolish that he thinks he can control this beast. And that's what we're looking at. We have the three stories. The story of naivety, the predator, and the fool. The fool is ego-driven. He's full of pride. He is confident that he can control the predator. His arrogance is exceptional, and his footing is always false. His footing is always false. The naive. The naive is innocent. It's ignorant. In its own way, it's still very foolish. It stands on a ground that is... Perception is derived by itself that everything is equally as good and as kind and thoughtful of others as it is. But its footing is... It's false. It's fragile. It's easily shattered. That hurts to hear, but that's true. Well, a predator is there to take advantage of the lost, the weak, the hopeless, the desperate, the broken. That is where predators gain their power, because let's face it, that's how most of us feel most of the time. Whew, that's heavy. And so now it comes back to me. What am I going to paint on the remaining surface, which I've left completely blank, and which, until I completed this guy most of the way through, I didn't allow myself to think about. Okay, great question. What is the footing? What are these things standing on? What does the innocent stand upon? How is the innocent's footing in contact with the footing of a predator, in contact with the footing of a fool? It's easy to think of flooring as just floor. You can think about it as I did. Should it be concrete? Should it be a jungle scene? You know, tigers are in the jungle. Should it just be a bunch of flowers? I also thought, maybe it should be like a bunch of rocks, or I don't know. I had a bunch of ideas that were very standard ideas. And then when I really started thinking hard about what my elements were, everything opened up to me. When you're making a painting, you can literally make it anything you want. You're limited by your ideas. But there's a lot of lazy ideas out there, and there's a lot of dumb ideas out there. And if we painted this as simply concrete or black and white checkered tiles, we'd be missing out on an opportunity. Now, once I realized what I had created here, or once I realized how I could perceive what I had created, now I have the ability to lead the viewer into something else. So, you have to ask the question, what's the footing of these things in the world? And frankly, what are these things in the world? What is the fool to me? What is the predator to me? What is naivety to me? The predator could be government. Very powerful, very, very powerful. This could be, naivety is the foolish, it's the weak, it's the easily manipulated, which the government does. Then you have the fool. How is the fool thinking he's going to control the government? Do I want this to be a government painting? Religion. As an artist, this is how I think and how I feel. So I've got a whole bunch of ways I could play it out. Like if I wanted to do government, then what would this be? Maybe I'd do like a government seal, lay down flat and take me way off into the background. Sitting on, what is naivety? Sitting on pink puffy clouds, perhaps? I don't know. What's the fool standing on? Is this representative of pollution? Is he standing on a bunch of trash and stuff? Or these are the thoughts that run through your head when you're trying to think, how am I going to tie this painting up? If the predator is in the center of the story, this is the main story that links the naive to the fool, is the predator. What do predators stand on? Predators stand on weakness. They stand on a lack of action. They stand on the backbones of everything that's not going to take action. But the predator does. What does the naive entity sit upon? A naive entity sits upon ignorance and a belief that everything in the world is as good as it is. So is it living in a fantasy? Is this a Disney princess? Is it sitting on bubbly clouds of pink cotton candy? That's not a bad idea at all, actually. Having been a very naive person and understanding that world, that's kind of it. But then, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna link, bubbly cloud world right here, and then right next to it have like a bunch of skulls and broken bones underneath this thing? And then, where does that leave me with the fool? And how the hell are bones and clouds linked? There's a lot of pitfalls to go down here. So, how am I going to link these powerful ideas with this tiny little strip that I left myself? God, if only I'd have known how good this idea was when I started it, I would have left myself more room. This guy could have been on like a beach ball. I could have made a whole clown scene or something. Could have been on like stilts while this guy's like, I don't know. Who knows? But I have this much room to work with. And I have to make it work. Limitations can be quite a strength, though, if we're very limited in the space. What was that? If we're limited in the space, if we're limited in the space and we have 3 stories going on, this is a power trio. It's a power trio. Three states. 3 states. 3 states. It is 3 states, but we've got to be careful. This is a tricky, tricky problem to solve. All right, let's sit down and think about this. And let's find the right solution. All right. Good luck. Good luck, buddy.